Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough, and here is a mini dose of Dr. Debbie where I'm sharing tips, suggestions, strategies, and sometimes just motivation to have you move past your betrayal once and for all. Hi there. So I want to talk about a topic today that doesn't get nearly enough attention, and it's regrets. Of course, when it comes to betrayal, there are so many regrets on both sides. The betrayer may regret their actions, may regret the damage they've caused, may regret that they've shattered the heart and the love and the trust of the very person they love the most and who loves them the most, what they've done to their families, what they've done to their friends. I mean, all of it, what they've done to their lives. From the betrayed's perspective, they may regret actions taken afterwards, sort of some revenge actions. They may regret things that they've said, things that they've done. Maybe they regret sticking around enough to tolerate it. Maybe they regret how hard they are on themselves, or they were on themselves afterwards. So there's so much to this that I really want to take the time to unpack it. And here's the thing, even if it's not about betrayal, regretting decisions that you made, or decisions, things that you wanted to do that you didn't do. There's so much to it. So I want to dive into that today. Think about it. I'm sure if I say, what do you regret? There's something that's going to come up. I mean, anything from, I've spoken to people where they've regretted not having any more kids. I've spoken to people who regret not having kids at all. I've spoken to people who regret opportunities not taken, job opportunities that could have really been rewarding and exciting, because they were afraid, or they had an opportunity to travel and they were just too afraid, or the money that they had saved was going to be used for something else. They could have made back that money, but they were just too afraid at the time. Or I've spoken to people where they were mistreated and didn't stand up for themselves, or watched someone else get mistreated and didn't stand up to that person, not standing up to the bully, or even something like they should have said no to more work demands put on them, or papers on their piles on their desk, and they didn't say no. So instead, they gave up on their sleep. They didn't prioritize their own health or self-care needs because they were just burning the candle at both ends. I mean, it is so there are so many examples of what we regret. And there's that amazing book, Regret, like the regrets of the dying. I've talked about this before. And, so many things we regret later on in life. So if that's the case, I really want to bring this up so that we make decisions that are more deliberate and more intentional with less regret later on. So before we get there, and I want to give you your RPP, your regret prevention plan. Before we do that, I want to talk about, what do you do with things you regret now? We try to run from them, right? We try to just put it behind us and hope they don't keep rearing their ugly head. But did you notice that they do? So very often, whatever it is that you regret, what can it be that you do where it is dealt with once and for all? How can you make peace with it? Let's say you regret an opportunity that you didn't take. That opportunity has not been taken, and now we justify it. So now we may make excuses like, I'm too old, it's too late, it's just that opportunity passed, I can't do anything like that again. What can you do to truly put that to rest? Because here's the thing, if what you're saying, if you can justify it and feel good about it, that's one thing. But what happens is, very often we're justifying it to try to make ourselves feel better, but you still have that feeling and it's still not dealt with and it still doesn't feel good. So that means you're justifying it, but it's not truly resolved. So what do you do to truly resolve it? Well, let's say there was an opportunity to, I don't know, like a job opportunity, and you're in your job, but it kind of stinks and you're not happy with it, and it's not fulfilling and it's not rewarding and you don't feel really good about it. What can you do now to satisfy that feeling of doing something rewarding? So if that job opportunity passed and the whole idea of taking it was because it would have been exciting or rewarding, the job opportunity is no longer available, but the exciting and rewarding piece is what you gave up on. And what can you do about that? So what can you do now where you look and you say, what can I do that's exciting and rewarding? And go with that. Can it be that maybe you start a new hobby? You take a class, you try something new, you start playing an instrument, you learn a new language, you travel somewhere, whatever it is. Instead of just looking at it as that opportunity is gone, the idea of what you were looking forward to within that opportunity, that's the piece that can still be fulfilled. So if it would have been rewarding and fulfilling, you take that and you say, okay, that wasn't fulfilled. What can I do that's rewarding and fulfilling to satisfy that need, right? What about something where you regret something that you said or you did? And now this can be kind of mild, like where you just said something that could have been misinterpreted by a friend or a coworker or something like that. What can you do about that? You clean it up. So what would happen if you went to that person, like for example, it's a friend and you were going to go somewhere together, and then you said, you know what, I'm just going to drive myself so this way I can leave when I want. Now, you didn't realize it, but your friend was insulted. I mean, I'm just making this up, right? Your friend was insulted because they wanted to go with you. And now your friend is feeling something like you don't want to be with them. And it was only because you just wanted the opportunity to leave when you wanted to, whatever. And you never really addressed it. Well, what would be so bad about saying, hey, remember back when, that thing we were supposed to do together, and I just said I was going to drive my own car. I'm realizing now that you may have thought I didn't want to be with you. That wasn't it at all. I just wanted to make sure I had my car so I could leave early. I mean, I'm giving such a silly example, but you get the idea. And think about how meaningful that would be to your friend. It's like, wow, you know what? They're thinking of me enough to address this all this time later. Like that feels really good, because we really can't control the interpretation someone has by what we say. But if you could sense that there was a misinterpretation, a miscommunication there, why not, instead of just, you know what, it happened so long ago, I'm just not bringing it up again because I'm uncomfortable with the potential of that confrontation. Look at how it comes off if you're bringing it up and talking about it, so that you're cleaning that up. So far we've talked about the feeling of an unmet opportunity, right? You regretted that exciting, rewarding opportunity. So you take exciting, rewarding, and that's the idea, and you do something with it. With a miscommunication from a friend, let's just say, and you regret that your friend felt that way, well, you go and you clean it up, just in whatever way. And then of course, when it comes to betrayal, what can you do there? Well, think about it. If you are the betrayer, there is a tremendous opportunity you have. It's not going to be as simple as the apology and, remorse and regret. It's going to take a lot more than that, but you're off to a great start. And I talk about the window of willingness, those 4 levels. If you are, and we have plenty of videos on that. But if you are from that level 1 or 2, where you're taking that responsibility, then your partner sees they have something to work with. When you're in denial or when you're blaming, there's really nothing to work with there. So this may have been, I'm sure, the biggest mistake. I mean, I hate calling it a mistake. It's so much more than that, because it's, it's deliberate. You knew what you were doing of your life. What are you doing? What are you doing to deal with that regret? And here's what I see a lot too. I see so many betrayers in such deep shame that they're of no help to the person they betrayed if they're trying to rebuild in a very different way, because they're so stuck in their shame and, saying things like, you'd probably be better off without me. And I can't even, I'm so distraught. I don't even know what to do. And meanwhile, here's the betrayed saying, I am giving you this golden opportunity, this precious opportunity to here's my broken heart in 1,000 pieces. I'm very scared, but I'm slowly, carefully, cautiously handing this back to you, which is an unbelievable opportunity. And you're so stuck in your own feelings, you're not even accepting this sort of gift. I'm giving you. So this is such a missed opportunity right here. So what can you do? It's not about you right here. This is about, instead of, yes, the regret, if it fuels the motivation to do something, to act differently, to become someone different, that's great. That's great. And you do something with that. When it comes to the betrayed, the regrets you have, I should have, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? So I should have said this, I should have done this, I could have done this, whatever. Use each nugget that you find as an opportunity to do something differently next time, right? That's the idea. You never want to leave a trauma, an experience, something that gave you any kind of pain without a nugget of learning, of growth. That's how wisdom develops. Wisdom is from all of those scenarios, and then you look at how you handled it and you reflect and you learn from it. But if you just go through it and you don't have that realization, you don't have that understanding, you don't have that new awareness, it's like such a waste of an opportunity. So you want to make sure you get the nugget of wisdom from that experience, whichever side you're on. And then you want to do something about it going forward. If you're the betrayer, how can you use what you've learned to give it 150% to try and rebuild if you've been given this golden opportunity? If you're the betrayed and you have any regret there, well, what can you do about that? What can you do about, what nugget can you take from it so that going forward, you do things differently, you think differently, you act differently, you behave differently. All right. So when it comes to any regret, don't ever look at it as just where you emerge from it feeling badly. It's a waste. Come out of it with a nugget of something to do differently. Whether you physically do something differently, your actions are different, your behaviors are different, and going forward, you're going to do things differently. So that's where you're actually taking something painful and doing something really good with it. And that's the best we can hope for, right? That's the best we can do. What do we do going forward? I want to talk about a regret prevention plan, your RPP. Now let's talk about this. The easiest way of preventing regrets that I know of is projecting ahead. How will this land? Before I say something, before I do something, how will this affect that person? If it's going to hurt them, don't do it. Period. End of story. I mean, that's how I live. It's been a rule I've kind of had throughout life, and it's kept things pretty simple. So, because if you project it ahead and you say, how will this land? Will this hurt someone? Now, of course, everybody's different. So what you think won't hurt, and someone is, let's say, very sensitive or sensitive to that particular thing, it may be a little bit different. But for the most part, if you play it out, how will this land? How will this affect this person? Would this feel good? Would this feel bad? And you use that as your meter, right? Do unto others. And you act from there. That's one way to prevent regrets. Another way is when you think about your actions, instead of just, so yes, one way, how will this land? Another way is, would my highest and best self choose this? Would the best version of me, the version of me at my physical, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual best, would that version of me choose to say this, to do this? If the answer is yes, well, then go for it. If the answer is a clear no, don't. If you're not sure, wait. So when you check in, there's that version of you who is always there. It's just, that's the version of you, beneath the old habits and the old conditioning and the old fear, doubt, insecurity, whatever. But when you check in with that version of you, and you ask, would that version of me say this, do this? You may have a different answer. Another thing you may want to do is just say, will I, if I look back on this action, will I be proud of myself? How will I look at myself when I look back? So I do this thing, say this thing today or tomorrow, and then 10 years from now, when I look back on it, how will I feel about saying, doing, behaving in this way? Will I be proud? Will I regret it? right? Because very often you're going to get your answer right there too. So it's another way of checking. Will I, as I'm moving through this, instead of unconsciously moving through this experience, consciously moving through it, how do I want to look back at myself? What do I want to see? How do I want to feel? Do I want to reflect back with pride? Go you, look what you did. Look how you handled it. Or would it be another sort of palm to the forehead? Oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? And then just have another thing you add to your pile of, I always say and do these things. I always do that. You're in control of what you do. So that's another way. That's another way of doing it. So we spoke about a few things, right? The highest and best version of you. With the highest and best version of you, do this. When you project ahead and say, how would this land? How would this feel? And that's where you're really tapping into empathy, right? Where you're projecting, you're trying to imagine what these actions would do to someone else. When you reflect back on what you've done, does that feel good? Are you glad you did it? Are you proud of your actions? And was this a choice that you feel, that you feel good about? And then the final one I'll give you is the stage 5 version of you. And that's the version of you who has completely moved through. You have moved through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. You are living, breathing, acting, reacting, everything as the stage 5 version of you that is waiting for you when you move through the stages. As you just tap into that version of you, the stage 5 version of you who has been through all of this already, who has done the work to heal, who has come out of that deep trauma, has seen just the gift. And I know you're like, gift, this woman's crazy. No. The gift in it, if you use that pain to do something powerful with it, as you use it as a catalyst for your transformation, that version of you is thinking, acting, reacting very differently than the version of you who is stuck in your trauma, who is stuck in stage 3. So the stage 5 version of you, when you tap into that stage 5 version of you, did you, that stage 5 version, did he or she do that thing? Did he or she say that thing? Did he or she react or act in that way? You see? So what we've done here through our RPP, our regret prevention plan, is prepare yourself enough that you're giving yourself so many different ways of preventing those unconscious actions that have us regretting our behavior. Growth happens when you are deliberately and intentionally moving through your life. You don't want to be a ping pong ball in the ocean. You don't want to be reactive. You want to be intentional. And you are intentionally taking on you and taking on your behaviors and taking on what is, just because it's been formed, a belief has been formed and actions and behaviors are set, doesn't mean it's there to stay. You're in control of changing them. And the opportunity is, the version of you before betrayal was great and wonderful for all of certain reasons, but the version of you now has an opportunity to be completely created deliberately, taking everything you love from the old you, and adding to it new ways to think, act, react, behave. So a few of those ways is by using any of these tools about seeing, how will this land? Would the highest and best version of me do it? Would my stage 5 version act like this? All of this, so you don't have any more regrets, and you're tapping into the wisdom of the version of you who was already so evolved and knows these things and has healed so much. That's the version of you want to check up with. So as far as the past regrets, do something with it. Take the feeling that you missed and use that feeling to do something new. If you regret an action or behavior, what can you do about it now? And keep in mind, if it's uncomfortable, that's good. Growth only happens outside of your comfort zone, right? We usually stay within our comfort zone. The growth happens outside of it. So you know that when it's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, growth is there. So do that thing. It's okay to be awkward. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Every single thing you do, was once uncomfortable and now it's familiar. Same thing here, but you want to clean up that stuff however you can. So clean up the old stuff, make up for whatever you regret in whatever way you can. Come up with that RPP so that you have a limited amount of regrets going forward. Be the highest and best version of you. Set the intention of it now so that that's who you're moving towards. And then, above all, do the best you can. And if you make a mistake, instead of just the regret of it, clean it up, use whatever words you can, use whatever actions you can, and be a better version of you today than you were yesterday. That's moving forward. I hope that helps. I'll see you next time. You need the right tools, support, and the right community to move through the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. And we have all that within the PBT Institute. So join us at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com. There's a version of you who's so confident, healthy, peaceful, and happy on the other end of your healing. And we can't wait to help you get there. We got you. Thanks for listening. And here's to your breakthrough.